RPP Proxy and the Perspective of Cardiac Mechanical Loading Either Stroke Part 2, number 1581, PPT 117, March 26, 2026, Gerald C. EclaireMD Foundation, Category Stroke, CVD. Cardiovascular Mechanics. Viscoplastopology Geometric VPT Analysis Results. The TDA trajectory is physically consistent with the VMT framework from the 3D trajectory. The 7-year period from 2018 to 2024 shows gradual movement off the system away from the neutral equilibrium zone, approximately 1.0 for normalized PP and EEG, with moderate RPP level. The trajectory progresses smoothly without abrupt jumps. This pattern is characteristic of cumulative damage behavior observed in viscoplastic systems. The continuous drift indicates progressive accumulation of vascular load PP, metabolic load EEG, and cardiac workload response RPP over time. The trajectory approaches a critical transition region in 2025. Corresponding to the stroke event, this spatial temporal pattern supports the interpretation that stroke is not a sudden random occurrence, but the result of long-term accumulation of interacting physiological stresses. For the 18-month period from October 2024 to March 2026, the TDA trajectory shows the system moving away from the balanced region approximately 1.0, 1.0, 1.0 before June 2025. From December 2024 to March 2025, PP remains above 1.10 while EEG remains below 0.85, indicating accumulated vascular and metabolic stress. Around June 2025 stroke timing, the trajectory reaches an unstable region, reflecting the combined effects of pressure load and glucose damage. After July 2025, the trajectory gradually moves back toward the equilibrium region. By January 2026 to March 2026, PP and EEG return close to 1.0, indicating improved physiological balance and partial recovery of system stability. Conclusion: comparison of my 9-year dataset and the 18-month stroke-centered dataset shows that overall cardiac mechanical workload remains within a relatively stable operating band. The 18-month period demonstrates a temporary elevation in RPP near the time of stroke, followed by a return toward baseline levels. The most significant insight is that heart rate alone did not show major variation. Yet the combined mechanical workload represented by HR multiplied by SBP reached a local maximum during the stroke WI. This observation illustrates the importance of multiplicative interaction in biomedical systems. Single variable indicators may not fully capture the combined effects of multiple physiological stressors. From the perspective of cardiac mechanical loading, the RPP curve provides useful insight into workload variation. However, broader models such as TSI are necessary to capture the full multidimensional interaction structure influencing stroke risk. Overall, these two RPP curves suggest that stroke occurrence cannot be explained by heart rate alone and is more likely related to interaction among multiple physiological loading factors, including both diabetes and hypertension. I correctly identify the hierarchy of these two indices. RPP secondary measures the immediate mechanical workload, the pump. TSI primary measures the systemic risk environment, the pipes plus the fluid plus the pump, by incorporating pulse pressure, stiffness, and glucose. Biochemical damage. TSI addresses the integrity of the vascular walls, whereas RPP only addresses the load placid upon them. Epilogue: in this article, I treat the heart as a cyclic pump and the vascular system as a complex piping network. Most medical studies and clinic visits rely on snapshot data, but a snapshot cannot show how damage develops over time. Using longitudinal data, the biomedical system becomes a dynamic movie instead of a still snapshot. This biophysical movie shows how pulsatile pressure PP, steady pressure MAP, and metabolic load EEG interact continuously through the multiplication-amplification effect. Similar to flow and stress in a real-life engineering piping system, this dynamic view makes the stroke mechanism much clearer and physically understandable. Disclaimer: I write this paper not for fame, but to share what I have learned so others can understand their health, prevent disease, and live longer, healthier lives. This content is provided for educational reference only and does not constitute medical advice. No doctor-patient relationship is created. You may share this summary freely, but it must not be altered, edited, or republished as your own. All intellectual property rights and copyrights for this article and its related materials belong to T. He author, Gerald C. This content is provided for educational reference only and does not constitute medical advice. No doctor-patient relationship is created. You may share this summary freely, but it must not be altered, edited, or republished as your own. All intellectual property rights and copyrights for this article and its related materials belong to the author, Gerald C.